It might blow up. It might kill me. Oh, apparently we're live. We're not dead. Take it as a
Awesome.
win. I'm taking it as a win. Uh, what's going on, y'all? It's Paul the Barbarian here, sitting down for another episode of Across the List, Buhurt around the world. Staying a little local this time in the same continent, at least. We'll be talking with Land Pearson from Canada. Say hello, Land.
Hello, Land.
um, Everybody in chat, thanks for joining us and everything else like that. If you got questions, throw them in the chat. We'll answer them to the best of our knowledge. Kinda, maybe. I mean, I don't know how drunk Land is, but I'm not. So, damn it!
Not drunk. I
Wow,
pretty
I'm
much I pretty much stopped drinking when I got serious about sword fighting. Like it
really.
wasn't an active decision, but I just noticed it happening kind of thing. And then because it was a thing, it became a thing. So
Mm,
yeah. Now I might have like a drink after campaign to celebrate with people, but yeah.
the only time I actually drink, in like my life is actually when I'm on campaign. It's the only
Yeah.
time I really drink, and it's like I'm over there. Like I figure that if I'm gonna die doing something, I might as well at least enjoy some booze.
Yeah. That's fair.
Like,
Totally.
um, so Land, go ahead and go down your fighting pedigree. What all tournaments have you done? How long have you been doing this shit?
All right. So yeah. So I'm from the Yukon originally, but I moved out east to get closer to more fighting, and then COVID stopped that. Um, but yeah, it would have been, I think, like the fall of 2014. I was at like a Comic Con running a Warhammer tournament, playing with like toy soldiers,
Mhm.
and some guy was putting on a presentation in the room next door about steel fighting, and my brother and one of our friends, he was like, they're like, we're not in the running to win. Let's just call this match a draw. Go watch that. And so I was running the tournament, so I kept bouncing back and forth to watch this. And of course, so this was Jose Amuedo from Team Spain. He usually fights polearm
Mhm.
and it hurt. And so he is from a little village of Mayo, which is like 5 hours north of Whitehorse, like 200 people. And he wanted more people than his wife to train with. And so he was like, let's try and get a team. And so after his time was up, there was about 20 of us that followed him like puppies and like, we need to know more about this. Of those, it's like myself and my brother and two guys from Dawson that actually stuck with it. So yeah, then it started being like he would come down once a month and we'd train.
Mhm.
And our 2015 was when we had our first tournament. So we had 12 people fighting, but only 6 sets of armor. So we like kind of mishmashed and stuff. And then so in 2015, I started to reach out to like I'd heard a few other people doing this sport across Canada. I was like, hey guys, like Canada's not going to these events. Like, how are we gonna make teams and stuff? And so yeah, we 2016 in Montreal, like the last interval tournament, the really big one. Uh, we brought like 14 people to that.
Mhm.
We were like a quarter of the tournament, and people are like, "Who is this in the Yukon?" kind of thing. Uh, we got completely raffle stomped in the Buhurt, but still, like we at least started to achieve stuff. And
Yeah.
so 2016 was the first time that Canada sent a team to IMCF,
Mhm.
and I was the person behind that. I was the captain. I was the person driving it.
Nice.
Also, Greg Poloboy took a team to Battle of the Nations that year. That was the first year in Prague, second year in Prague, I think.
Second year in Prague. 20,
Yeah,
2017? 2016.
2016. Yeah,
Yeah, second year in
2016,
Prague.
second year in Prague. Yeah. Um, and so, yeah, that was like the year that Canada kind of really actually hit the map. Quebec had been attending, I think, since 2011 as the nation of Quebec,
Mhm.
but they kind of do their own thing as the nation of Quebec. And we
That's
can talk about that
Quebecese.
later. Yeah, yeah. And so then I've taken a team to IMCF every year since, uh, and we got completely smashed by you and your team in 2017 after going 6 rounds with Japan and being a man short. It was super fun. Uh, and then also went to Battle of the Nations in 2018. So I got to do my Ironman in 2018. We were like, Europe is tiny. We'll go to Rome and then we'll drive to Scotland. Well, that's still 26 hours later and
Yeah.
ferry rides and stuff.
It's, it's, it's,
So we got in like Wednesday morning at like 5 a.m. for get ready for IMCF.
there you go. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah, yeah. And And then yeah, went to Ukraine in 2019, and like Kievan Rus sport is just amazing. Like since I got in the sport, we were seeing videos from there. I'm sure they're all Igor Parfentov's videos, and it was just like me and my brother like we have to go there, and it was really hard because that was the year that Botten was doing the 150s, which
Mm-hmm.
also would have been super fun. But I could only go to one, and so I was like, no, let's go to Ukraine, and yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. I
So
actually
that
really wanted to go to the Ukraine event. I was like, I just wasn't in the books at the point in time.
yeah,
So.
yeah, so that's kind of a quick rundown. Lots of little tournaments, sort of more in Western Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we would we went I think about 3 or 4 years down to Alberta and would smash them in their tournament kind of thing and be like, you guys need to go to the Worlds with us. That's how you'll get better, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how you go better. That's how you get better. Going to Worlds, like going to one extra tournament a year.
I don't know, fighting with the best, like then you actually see what it is and you're like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, you know, like
It definitely changes things a little bit more when you go over there, and it's a more of a learning experience 3/4 of the time than anything else. Um,
yeah. Like I remember my brother, like he did longsword for us in 2016 in Portugal, and he went up against Lucas Cowell
mhm.
from White Company, and he was like, "I have to do fives after this. Go nice, just teach me some things." And like completely got destroyed, but
Yeah,
also was just like, "Wow!" Made the connection so much that later on in Kill the King, we were just getting destroyed. And my brother says he remembers like being battered down and looking up and Lucas just making eye contact with him and then sniping him with the sniper with his falchion to knock his axe out of his hand. And then boom, down he went. It
damn it.
was like just like through the sea of bodies, just like
Yep,
yeah,
I found you, and I'm gonna get
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Um, I actually really want to get a hold of Lucas. I actually really want to. I want to pull Lucas onto this and talk to him about stuff.
yeah,
He seems like actually a pretty chill dude, so
yeah.
that'd be pretty
I
fun.
think it'd be good.
Um, so in your country, in the country of Canada, you have two national teams. You have Quebec, and you have Team Canada.
In the eyes of IMCF, in the eyes of Battle, it's HMB, there's just Canada now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um,
So like when the split happened, they were like, you know what? If you're gonna go with those guys, too bad. You only have to be Canada, kind of thing.
you're only allowed to be Canada. You can't be anything else. Deal with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you don't have to listen to that goofy national anthem that Quebec plays every time.
Oh, it's so bad.
I'm gonna have to
It's
have
all
it.
about them from Quebec.
I'm gonna
Stop
have to have
that.
a Quebecois on like next week or the week after because
Yeah,
like I like two Canadian factions.
yeah.
Um,
That's the great thing is there isn't really factioning. Everyone really likes it, each other and supports each other. You know, it's sort of for IMCF they do their thing, and then for Botten, then we can come together
mhm.
and make like a stronger, united team.
There you go. Like
Yeah,
that's always been my thing is like why do we have to have two factions in the United States like arguing with each other a bunch? I'm like we
yeah.
could just make one really good team that could go to both events. I don't know, maybe.
I'm with you. I think that would be a great idea.
Wouldn't it?
And you guys are getting there. It's coming together. Like
Slowly.
COVID, like that ruined so much of that brotherhood that was rebonding.
The Koof fucked us all up. Like
Mhm.
it's very real. What's going on, Red Ragnarok, Wizardfoot, Daniel, Chris? What's going on? Hey, Land, how are you? You're in the chat as well.
Oh, hey,
Just
so am I.
chatting about. Um, how is the sport perceived in Canada? I'm gonna say Canada because that's how it goes.
Okay, so the big elephant in the room is technically the sport's illegal in Canada because
Okay.
so prize fighting in the criminal code is defined as pre-agreeing to meet to strike with hands, fists, and feet. So the weapons are fine, but because we punch and kick, not cool.
You can
Uh,
consider a gauntlet a weapon and a shield a weapon.
maybe, yeah, maybe that might be the workaround. I have been working on that workaround, trying to figure that out. Uh, but so that piece doesn't apply if you're an Olympic sport. It doesn't apply if basically the government says that event is okay or that event uh, or that sport is okay, so for within your province. And so I've been working on that a bit. But that's the same reason why like MMA is illegal in most of Canada. Like we've built more. You can't have competitions. You can practice it, but only certain provinces have
What about
competitions.
boxing?
Boxing is an Olympic sport, so it's okay.
Okay, that's great. Okay, granted point.
Yeah,
I get hit in the head a lot, so it makes sense.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
that's kind of wacky.
You
Like,
say that, but your helmet doesn't look like this.
no, my helmet doesn't look like a crater. Like, it doesn't look like craters. It's almost baby smooth. It's so perfect.
This is the helmet I got for the Ironman, and at the end of IMCF in Scotland, Alexi, the captain of Annabera, was like, "I have never seen a helmet so wounded. Let me take it back to its maker."
That's great. Um,
Yeah.
so like, but how do the people of Canada, like your spectators, fans, whatever, how do they deal with
Yeah.
the sport? How do they like the sport?
Uh, People love it. Like the biggest thing I find is people just don't know it's something that they can do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of how, uh, at least with my team in the Yukon, I was working to just get us out to everything so that people can know it's something they can do. And, you're not going to recruit grandma, but grandma's going to talk to her grandson or her son or daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll just go, "Oh, I can go hit people with swords."
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Like,
So,
yeah.
like, yeah, people, yeah, we have like a decent little fan base that's growing, and it's just we need to have more events, and events are hard when your country is so huge.
Yeah.
You know,
Eh,
uh, when I was in the Yukon, the closest team is the 26-hour drive away that I did across Europe.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But
So,
didn't your numbers in the Yukon weren't didn't you have like a huge team in the Yukon?
yeah. So I think we were up to close to 60 the one year, and I'd say probably about 30 people had a full set of armor kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Yeah.
Like how bad was your turnover? Did you have people like coming in and leaving like constantly or what?
Once people get armor, usually they stay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like we didn't lose many people that way. Um, and yeah, there would be sort of a few people here and there, but it's like people. There's so much to do in the Yukon,
Mm.
even though it's so remote. Like people are busy. There's so many activities. Like it's impossible to plan an event because you're always going up against a music festival or a biking festival or something else.
And everybody
And so,
trying to collect as many supplies for winter as they humanly
yeah,
can so they can survive.
exactly. You can't
Fighting
interfere
off
with what
bears and
species.
chasing moose away. Yeah, like
Yeah,
constant.
totally. Yeah. So it's challenging to get people really fully committed. Like
Mm-hmm.
people get in, but it's still very hobby. And so that was always a struggle on the team for me to try and like balance those people that want to be hobbyists versus like, the few of us that want to be like, we want to be going to Dynamo. We need to find like who are the other 5 people that want to be going to Dynamo. And we want you to be serious about it and not just be like showing up.
Yeah, you want sportsmen, not just like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to like call them because it's a sport. Like we all want to be sportsmen, kind of thing like
Yeah.
that. But there's dudes that are sportsmen about it and like pay
Yeah.
attention and do the thing. Um,
Yeah, like I used to compete seriously in biathlon. Like I went to university solely because it was the last school in Canada with biathlon team, and biathlon's cross country skiing and shooting a
mm-hmm,
22 rifle.
mm-hmm.
And so like I a couple of years was like the alternate for the world juniors team. Like I was close but never quite there. I trained way harder for this sport now than I ever did for that.
Yeah,
Like I went to a school where I had a paid coach and I had training plans and all this like available to me. And I'm like, now in my, mid late 30s, I'm like, oh, I wasted that. Like I need a coach now. Like it's so hard figuring out to balance all the things that I'm doing. What's best, like I try and do like, I'm doing strong with 5x5. I don't have a very big team here in Halifax yet, so I'm doing judo and Muay Thai when I can, going running. Like, yeah, I want someone to just do that plan for me now.
well, it's like getting yourself a coach that'll keep you to a plan, keep you motivated, and keep you going is one part of that. But also having a group of dudes that all look at each other and go, "Let's motivate each other to do this fucking
Yeah,
thing." Like teamwork makes the dream work, and that's in
yeah,
training. That's in the actual like fighting itself. Like it all kind of
yeah.
works together, kind of
So
thing.
in the Yukon, we've had like a training hall for probably like 4 years now. maybe even 5. It started out just being like a little like 400 square feet in a warehouse. It's unheated, but we had a list,
Yeah.
and we just slowly grew bigger and bigger. Because I think that is like having a consistent space to have consistent practice is what makes your team grow, kind of thing, right? And so, yeah, so I had the one year there was I think like 6 people coming a few times a week at 6 a.m. to do workouts.
Jesus.
Like I'm not a morning person,
No.
but because of this sport, I realized, oh well, I guess I can go lift weights at 6 a.m. before my wife goes to work, kind of thing. And
Oh,
that's when it'll fit in because especially when the sport started, like I was just a stay-at-home dad,
yeah.
so like families first,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So yeah, it's yeah finding that collective of people that want to work hard and
Hmm.
try and go to that level with you as well.
And you can only build that so much. You can only build that hunger so much. They have to come with that almost as a prerequisite to be able to to be able to
Yeah.
push forward and do the thing and do the training really.
Mhm.
And it also comes down to like the self discipline. And then like you
Yeah.
can have a coach that goes, "Hey, show the fuck up. Let's do it. We're gonna be strong about this." But then there's guys that like I don't know you shit. Shut up. I don't need to listen to you. Like I'm gonna show
So,
up next week when I want to.
yeah,
Um,
and that's part of the you need those numbers to be like you're not on the A team then if you're not putting the time in.
yeah, really.
Like
Um,
that's always kind of the dream to make that team, and being able to support everyone else, but that people want to be on that team, kind of thing.
yeah.
Like,
I
yeah,
just like send out your best dudes, kick the crap out of them, go, hey, get better, and you'll be able to beat them.
yeah,
I don't think that's the best motivating way to do it, but sure, it'll work. I don't care. My buddy Sham, who's my admin, Canadians are known to be super polite from a U.S. perspective. Does that help you while fighting, or do you say sorry after you knock the shit out of somebody?
a tournament is really hard on your voice because you're just saying sorry so many times
Sorry,
every time you.
sorry, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure that Church of Buhurtism or someone has made a meme of that a time or two.
I have no doubt that all the meme pages that are out there are just like constant.
Yeah.
Um, Somebody says maybe in Manitoba, and Land is the coach from Dan. Land, you're the coach. It's all on you. You're the responsible one.
That's one of the things I talk about is like not that I look forward to the day, but I think about the day when I'm too old or too injured to try and be a top level fighter.
Hmm.
Because like, when I was home in the Yukon, I was trying to build the Yukon team, trying to build the national body, trying to be a top athlete, also trying often showing up and having to be the coach, that kind of thing, like trying to do all these things. And it's like if I could just take it one piece of this, it'd be a lot easier.
When
Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, like trying to balance all of those spinning plates at once, kind of thing, and trying to do your best by all of them because you know that that reflects upon you, and you're like, I need to do my best for all of these different facets, but I can only keep so many of them going at one time. Some plates got to fall off somewhere.
And then there's the like, do I want to be a duelist or do I want to be a Buhurtist? Like
Oy.
that's my constant struggle as
Yeah.
well. Like, because most years I've represented Canada for Sword and Shield,
Hmm.
as well. The one year I did longsword, I think as well. Yeah, I did longsword as well in Denmark. But so then like trying to train for duels, but also need to be training for group fights.
And
Yeah,
trying to make sure like, okay, I need to give this much attention and this much attention. Like shit, when do I fucking sleep, kind of thing. And then you got kids, so
oh,
it's
that's the thing. I don't sleep.
I don't sleep.
Pretty much anyone that knows me, there's like, when does Land sleep? Because I'll be up in the middle of the night, like sending out stuff.
There have been a couple times where me and you have been up at like 4 in the morning talking, and I'm like,
Yeah,
Land, it's 4 a.m., dude. I need to go to sleep.
yeah,
He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, come on, we keep talking about stupid shit. I'm like, no, Land, it's time for bed.
yeah.
Um, anybody
Yeah.
anybody in chat got questions? Go ahead and hit us. I'm gonna keep yelling about stuff. Um, what are where do you see the sport going right now?
Where did I see this sport? I like
Past the coof coof.
even though COVID's here, I still see like, and even though we're not really running a lot of stuff, some areas are, I still see a decent amount of interest of people wanting to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I really think like there's so much opportunity still for this sport to keep growing, um, because at least like where we're attracting a lot of people who weren't athletes before. Like you're giving, and it's a new form of recreation,
Hmm.
right? And getting people active, and I think that's super cool and super important. I see some places where we're starting to recruit athletes from other areas, like, but I think that there's like a whole untapped area of people. Like, one of my buddies, he we finally convinced him to join us after a number of years, and for a long time he just drove delivering pizza, listening to audiobooks. So you can imagine sort of what shape he was in.
Yeah.
Like that guy was able to turn his body around like within a year really quickly and turn into like a super strong dude,
Hmm.
right? And that was like I was jealous of that. I was like,
If
he's just like
only.
big hulking muscles, and I'm just like, you
Yeah. I got
know,
arms. They're there. They're there.
yeah.
Um.
So I think it's super cool. And I see a lot of potential for further growth in this sport. It's just that getting it out there, getting it known, it blows me away all the time how mainstream people know what LARP is and
Yeah.
ask us if we LARP. Um, and being like, well, it's a little bit different,
Just a touch. Just a touch.
like we were talking about it at judo tonight afterwards, and someone's like, "Yeah, imagine if you guys threw people in armor." I'm like, "No, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Like the reason why I'm here
Yeah.
is to learn those simple throws to just throw people in armor."
Yeah.
And they're just like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Well, we're gonna get together one of these days, and we'll throw each other in armor, and you'll get to see." And they're pretty excited.
I've talked to a bunch of judo instructors here, and I'm like, hey, like this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I need to learn. Can you help me? And they're all like, wait, you don't want to go to the ground. I'm like, no, not fucking all. I can't touch the ground at all, and I need to be able to defend against a guy that's got a hold of me trying to take me down with him. I need to be able to take him down cleanly. And they're like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, oh, like here's a video, and I show them a video of
Yeah,
what we're doing. They're like, wait, what are the rules? You can hit him with the axe? I'm like, why aren't you just hitting him with the axe? I'm like, because armor works. I need to be able to throw the dude, too.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That was the same thing. They got confused, and they're like, "Wait, what is your sword doing?" I'm like, "Oh, you're chopping people with it at the same time,
yeah.
or you're throwing that dude, and I'm chopping him to make him distracted, so you can throw him easier." And they're like, "Oh, yeah,
They
yeah,
sometimes they're like, wait, why would you even want to throw somebody? Why do you want to grapple with anybody? I'm like, because that's what they do. They hug you. They hold up on you.
yeah." So I think a really big thing for us in North America is to work on that H&B soft
Mm-hmm.
and building youth programs.
And
You know, like
the youth program. The only problem I can see is because the United States. I don't know how the insurance like market is like you up in Canada, but being able to convince a business to go, hey, let me host a kids foam sword fighting class, or like an activity, like go to a day center or something like that. I need you to host me doing this, and they're like, no, absolutely not.
so that was that like juggling all the plates. I
Mm-hmm.
had parents begging me to do it,
Oh,
and I just like I didn't have enough,
yeah,
because
because
when you work with kids, to me, it's like that is like the biggest commitment. I used to do coach biathlon bears, which is like the 8 to 12 year olds learning to shoot and ski, and it was like I don't care if it's -45. I will be here. Your kid does not have to be here, but I'll be there in case you bring them, kind of
yeah,
thing. Because like parents are super busy now, and they uh, they want to be able to know that their kid is going to be busy for this hour session, right?
yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah, and I'm just wondering what someone's telling him to challenge and fight the Scalgrim guy on YouTube.
That Scalgrim guy, like he does great stuff. He talks about a lot of things. I like what he does. I like the stuff he does. I'm like, I wonder if he'd actually like be able to fight somebody. I wonder how well he'd do in a steel fight.
I think he has talked poorly about our sport
He
before.
probably has. I don't
Yeah,
give a shit. I mean, him and the Metatron, they can talk whatever they want. I'm like, look,
I forgot about Metatron.
I I don't care what they say because they're just unlearned. They don't understand the intricacies of the sport, and they don't understand, like, hey, there's actual sword work happening. Just because we don't stab people, yes, that takes away a large metric. I fight in sports where you're allowed to stab people. And I'm like, it takes away a lot of shots, a lot of metrics, but there's still a lot to our sport that you don't understand because you just think it's thugs beating on each other.
Yeah.
Or hugging and falling to the ground and stuff.
To me, any kind of sword fighting is still good. I mean, Buhurt is best. But, like if you're somewhere and there's no club around you, but you got SCA or you've got some sort of LARP, go there and just start playing. Because you might be able to find some other people that want to get it started too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I came from foam. I started in foam, went to rattan, then I went to steel fighting. I learned so much that is so applicable to steel fighting from foam and rattan. It's like, it's just more sword fighting. If you do more sword fighting, you're gonna get better at sword fighting. Apparently,
I think some of the really good Americans come from foam, like Colin Campbell and Craig, right?
Colin, Brandon Knight, Craig. I don't know. Brett. I think Brett was more of a martial artist before he got into stuff. But like most of the high end sword and borders are all from foam. Alex Rashi, Bear Blackspear on YouTube. He's from foam. Dom's from foam. I mean, a lot of like hi in the background.
That's Rowan.
How you doing? So like most of those really like most of the really good fighters all started in foam, and it's been pretty gnarly. Be the family, man. I'm okay with that. How we doing, chat?
Okay. Go back to bed. I'll come check on you when I'm done.
I just want to see those guys get beat up. Like what? The Skalgrim guy? You want to see the Skalgrim guy get beat up? Who cares? It's fine. You got to go do adult stuff?
No.
Okay.
I think that Skalgrim is out here now, actually in Nova Scotia where I am, and doing some stuff with. I've got someone who's like a very SCA guy that I'm slowly trying to get into being a duelist.
Mm-hmm. It's not my guy, is it?
No.
Yeah.
No, a different one. Yeah.
So Sham asked, how do you deal with the fact that your fighters live over such a huge landmass? Is there a way you have grown in Canada that could be brought to the U.S.?
No, just it's so challenging. Like, so being in the Yukon, my flight from the Yukon to Quebec is not that much cheaper than going to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like Canada, like I know America suffers from it as well, but it's way worse in Canada. The cost of flights.
Do you not have trains that travel that far?
No, not really. Not at least to the Yukon. And plus, it'd be huge. Like, so I want to go play with like Alex and Dom. That's still like a 14 or 16-hour drive for me.
Jesus, that's ridiculous. Like, I want to go to Texas, and I don't even know how long a trip that is from Maryland. Like, I want to go to Texas and train and do stuff, and I'm like, it's 8 hours for me to get to the hall from where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Which isn't the worst, but it's still pretty rough.
That's about the same.
Yeah.
For me these days. Because they're in New Hampshire, right?
Yeah, Nashua. Is there anyone that fights in 15th century Gothic? Yes. Like most of the full plates, like late 16th century, like 15th century doesn't have Gothic, does it? I'm not a historical guy.
Yeah, I'm just a sportsman.
Most of the full plate stuff comes in like mid 15th, I think.
Yeah.
No, 14th,
but like
mid 15th.
So HMB's got that full plate category now, right?
Yeah.
Which is super sexy.
Yeah.
And for all those thrusty people, they're also working on rules for that. Like,
really?
Yeah. So I think my basic understanding of some of that is it's a gentleman's duel, and so you pre-agreed. So a lot of people allow thrusts between shoulder and waist, kind of thing.
I wouldn't like that, because if I would deflect something up, it would go right into my eye slot.
Totally. But I think that they're working on additional rules to expand that. Like, there's more happening with that category. There was just an article, I think, out today about it.
I know, it's currently pulled up on my phone, and I'm going to pull it up. It's really
okay.
it's not even a long article. I don't
No,
think.
I think they were just saying that like work is being done to improve it and do more.
Uh, the work of on introducing full plate armor battles to a new official combat category for the HMB World Championship Battle of the Nations in the future has been going on for about 2 years. This is great news because all we've been able to appreciate the spectacle, beauty, and grace of such tournaments. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, like armors. I think they're doing a lot more of the showy, like Lord tournament kind of situation to there. But I think that kind of takes away from the sport that leans it more towards reenactment. And I don't know if this is true. This is all speculation, but I think HMBIA and the Authenticity Committee are at like the Authenticity Committee does what they do because they have to meet some stringent ideal of historical reenactment so they can get more money from the government. I have no idea. It's just a thought process that's come in my head. Like maybe they're passing rules to make sure they stick to
you've got
historical.
Roboto on me.
Whoa, did you go robo on me? Why are you frozen, Land? Oh, there you go. Now you're moved again. Proud of you.
I was just saying the same to you. Yeah, I don't know if there's some sort of backing why they need to focus and do a lot with that, but I mean, there's lots of kit that is Aussie AC compliant. Like it's not actually that hard.
Yeah.
To do it right. And yeah, you think a wolf rib isn't safe? There's a lot of helmets out there that are.
God, it's not sport optimized. That's the thing. Like,
yeah.
The wolf ribs scared the crap out of me. Like they
I just got one.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's not bad. And I've even used it a bit with the noobs, which is sometimes scary.
Yeah. Tip control is a thing.
The interesting thing that I've had a few times is that like a blow has come down and then like it's made like it's cut basically a piece of the metal and like so like a spark or something then touches my cheek. Ooh. And you're like, did I just get hit by a blade? And it's like, no, I'm good. It was just like
a chunk of
metal
steel
shaving.
Hit me. Yeah, it's just a chunk of steel hitting me. Like I don't need that in my eyeball, but whatever, it's fine.
We're fine. Yeah.
No, and I've been wondering whether or not somebody will put perf plate into those
behind
things.
The
yeah, behind the wolf rib, maybe across the top section of the eyes.
Yeah, maybe
on the very inside.
Well, when you talk to Matthias, right? Like, because him and his brother for a while had the nasal that had the aviation glass in it.
And he's actually the one that caught a halberd to the eyeball.
Yeah.
Or it was a falchion. I think it was a falchion that like it hit him in the eye and then went past and scraped up the side of his head. Like that's insane.
One of my favorite shots used to be in Sword and Shield would just be like a straight shot out to the face.
Yep.
Because my brother would start working on this combo and you'd see him start like trying to mesmerize you a bit like a snake charmer thing. And I'm like, no, stop it.
Yeah.
And one of the fighters in Alberta, I was doing some training with him and I was showing one of his new guys. I was like, this is a shot I like to do. But he had one of those, I think like a Saleh from Slava that has like, this is fully open because it has to open all the ways. And I was like, don't hit him in that slot. Don't hit him in the slot. Don't hit him in the slot. Hit him in the slot. And so I got him like just on the edge of his cornea. Ooh. Yeah. So very quickly, let's take the armor off, go to the hospital, and get it checked out. And like things were fine. He had to wear an eye patch for a little while. And so me and his partner called him a dirty pirate hooker for a while.
There you go. I mean, I have a really well trained offside. That offside that hits right at the temple, but it's also in rattan fighting. I hit him in the eye slot. And it's just like every time I hit him in the eye slot, because they have bars there and the stick's big enough that it doesn't go in the eye slot. I have to be very conscious to like fully extend the arm for the offside so the actual blade hits the side of the helmet and not the eye slot.
Yeah. I think I was like, I would more aim for like mid-face kind of thing.
The face kind of thing. Also, like once you get up to the temple on most of our helmets, it gets pretty conical up there, so it kind of bounces off and it's not nearly as clean as strike.
Yeah.
So,
I
um,
don't think that we'll ever get ancient era Buhurt because the armor is not good enough, right? Like that. That's one of the questions in the chat. Is that that's why you can't even really go earlier than like 13th century.
yeah, you really
'Cause-
can't. Joshua Friars, how are you doing, sir? What the fuck, land? Wait, I'm guessing he's questioning you about hurting new people. Um,
I think so too.
probably. Um, yeah, most armor's 13th to 14th century because that's like a lot of plate and transitional armor. I think that's the transitional period. I have no
Yeah,
idea. Um,
yeah, that's what I always tell people. That's transitional. They didn't have the technology to make full plate yet, so it's all these little pieces
yeah,
and stuff,
you're roboing
and
again.
it's easy for us to match a little.
Yeah. Um, can you hear me,
You were
land? Am I
roboing me.
roboing? There we go. Um, but
Yeah.
the Romans versus barbarians. If you're talking about my episode on Night Fight, that chainmail sucks, and fighting in chainmail, I don't enjoy it. It's not fun, especially not with blunt force trauma weapons, because I'm not really worried about getting stabbed, and I'm not really worried about getting sliced open. I'm more worried about having bones broken.
Yeah, I think some of the SEA guys here were talking about one time they did chainmail fights and how they ended up with chainmail bruises.
Yes, just patterns of chainmail in bruise form. It's great. Tell you what.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
what kind of ways do you recruit? Like with you having the biggest like group in the Yukon and everything else like that. How did you recruit people?
So a lot of it was that just going out to different events. So our main tournament would be Canada Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would walk in the Canada Day parade and hand out flyers and do
Ah,
little
there you
fights
go.
along the way to get people to come check out our tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you can talk to them there and they can see actually what it is that you do. And just getting involved in different events, uh, different fundraisers and that kind of thing. Like we would, we got in the Yukon, you can run bars as nonprofits for weddings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so the laws are you can pay the establishment and that costs you a lot more money, or you can give the booze away for free, or you can have a nonprofit run the bar for you and you can charge a bit of money kind of thing
Well,
and
there you
you
go.
choose what you want to pay them. And so we did a lot of that, which then in the different establishments we got a name as being good for that, so other people would recommend us when people didn't know. And then also that would allow us to kind of talk about our sport, like who we are, why do we have helmets sitting here, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Like what the hell are you
And
guys doing?
then like sometimes weddings would like, hey, when it's the appies and cocktails time, can you guys do a little fight demo kind of stuff?
Yeah, sure as shit we
Um,
can.
totally. And we got in with our big like winter festival as well, and so like it became part of the program that we were part of it. And
Nice.
it's the Sourdough Rendezvous. It's sort of our it's the middle of winter and everybody's freaking out in their cabins. Let's have a big party. And so there's this like the quest for the crown. There's the rendezvous queen. So they do all this different pageantry and different things. So now the White Wolves are the Queen's Guard, and so then we're have a few people always at those events, kind of
Aw,
thing. And so our tournament that we hold during the rendezvous weekend selects the next Queen's Guard, the winning team, kind of thing. And
gotcha.
so everyone kind of takes a part helping out with the different stuff, but like the main when they're crowned, that's when people are there, kind of thing.
Nice.
That are those official ones. So it's just trying to get out and get the sport known is sort of the recruitment that I do. Um, Even here, like it's slowly in Halvac starting to grow. Like I had 7 people at practice last night,
Jesus.
and that was missing like the 4 or 5 main guys that were coming last year, kind of thing. So yeah, it's getting out there through word of mouth, and there's a lot of people that want to hit people with swords. They
Who'da
just need to be
thunk?
told they're allowed.
Who'da thunk? It's a
Yeah,
great idea.
yeah.
Um, somebody's in chat saying Greek hoplites had good armor and Assyrians had heavy full plate. Okay, so in the ancient times they didn't have closed-toed shoes. They weren't fully covered in plate, arms, legs, chests, head, everything else like that. You would not be able to make that armor safe enough to go fight in our sport. Like it has to be historically accurate. You wouldn't be able to like mitigate all of the pieces that are missing to that armor to make it work.
And wasn't a lot of the armor like bronze
Yeah,
sort of stuff? So
that'd be
yeah. So
terrible.
at one of the tournaments I was at in Alberta, there were reenactors that also do like were wearing like the gladiatorial, like the
Mm-hmm.
one shoulder, the cool helm, and the fights looked good. I was asking them how they did it, and it's that they kind of it's staged that they're
Mm-hmm.
hitting, certain only the armor, and they have like a thing after when someone gets tired, they kind of like sound off. They like hit their shield a certain way to say, okay, now let's go for the killing blow,
Yeah,
and so they step it up a little bit and make it dramatic.
it's more of a
Um,
show than anything else.
yeah, and so yeah, it isn't a test of sportsmanship like our sport is, I guess.
Ah,
Like,
sure.
not to say anything bad about what they're doing. Like, it's hard. Like, I couldn't do stage combat. Like, I am so poor at combos and footwork and
Mm-hmm.
everything. So I think what they do is awesome, but it's not the same.
Yeah, remembering not to hit them in specific, like remembering how to not hit them in one way and then hitting them in another way. And I'm like, nah, I'm just here to
Yeah.
fight good. What do you want? Uh, uh,
And as I already demonstrated, when I look at an area not to hit that, that's what I hit,
yeah, that's what I'm gonna hit. Like that's
Yeah.
what you do.
I remember in our first tournament, it was me and my brother in the finals, and we had those like Cushneck coats of plates and the Wisbees, so
Mm-hmm.
like no hip
Hip protection.
protection because
Yeah,
we didn't know that was really a thing we needed.
apparently.
And I saw him get hit, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that looks no okay. Don't hit him there. Don't hit him there." What do? I hit him there, and I swear, like smoke came out of his helmet. He just like raged, like fire. I was like, "I'm sorry, brother."
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Your hips
Yeah,
all broke now.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that was our first year, so I couldn't hit all that hard, so it
yeah,
wasn't too bad. I
no.
mean, I'm still Canadian, so when we went to our first Worlds, we had one of the guys from Scalgrams join us because we were like, we're a bunch of noobs. We've done some fundraising. Can we help support you? Come with, so we have an experienced guy on the team. And he told us afterwards that we all hit like kittens. And I think that that was a lost in translation thing because he's originally Ukrainian, and I think he meant to say we hit like pussies, but he
Sure.
translated to kittens.
Kittens, pussy, it works the
Yeah,
same. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, it all meows and smells like fish. Uh,
yeah.
so, I have a question for you. In all of the fighting you've done, all the organizational stuff that you've done, how do you support your support structure, your support people, your refs, your armors, everything else like that? Like they're a major thing in our sport, and most fighters don't fucking get it.
That's the thing that I think prevents us currently from getting big is
Mm.
having that strong support structure. Um, you know, our last big tournament, my brother and I, who are among the top duelists in the territory, we didn't duel because we had to be the night marshals,
Yeah.
like running it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're constantly pulling people away to marshal. And so, yeah, like it's hard. Like I'm always trying to when I'm talking to people and getting them involved. I'm like, I know I talk about wanting to go to Worlds and like that I'm training really this hard. I'm training 6 days a week, sometimes doubles. But we, if you just want to come and learn how to swing swords and be part of the community, that's great. You're totally welcome to.
Yeah.
You do what you want to do here. Nobody's going to tell you you need to do more. Uh, and if you just want to come and hang out, and then you could also help us sometimes with marshaling stuff, that would be great. And that again comes back around to that youth program because once we get the kids in, then we can get their parents doing
Yeah.
stuff, right? And that's I think what would be super beneficial. Like, this like I know the swim team in the Yukon, for example. If you want your kid on the team, you are obligated to do so many volunteer hours for
Mm-hmm.
events and that kind of thing. So like we need to start building that structure and the sport is still so new and all of us are just like wanting to fight all the time that I think we need to build that structure in to our teams as well, that there's an expectation of you participating, helping marshal at events and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. We need to figure that out more. Dom from Quebec actually is working on some stuff for that for our national organization and for theirs about like, each team needs to provide this many hours if they're coming to an event, basically.
Yeah.
And that's what's nice sometimes when you have those people that only want to do Buhurt or only want to do duels kind of thing. But I always tell people to do all the things.
Yeah,
So,
do all of it. Just do all of it.
yeah. Like when we went to Rome, I did Sword of Shield in the morning on day one, then fives at lunchtime, then the 21s that night, and then pro fights the next day.
Jesus Christ.
And then we did 21s again on the fourth day.
Yeah, there you go.
And then drove across Europe, went to Scotland, and did the exact same thing.
All the fighting all the time.
Yeah.
Like here's the thing. Like nobody just wants to show up and be somebody's bitch.
No. And so we need to start paying those people. And fighters always want their stuff covered when they go to events, and I think that's great. But I think we need to actually start thinking about supporting those people more because, I do it too. Like, we're terrible to our refs.
Oh, we're fucking
we
terrible.
Yell at them like,
we're mean.
What do you mean that you're saying I'm out? Or like, how do you score that? Can you not fucking see? And then afterwards I go and apologize to them and be like, I'm not me when I have my helmet on. I'm sorry.
There was a fight where I was watching a guy take his pointed knee cop and he was kneeing another dude in the back of the leg, trying to get him to like shift his leg, and he kneed him in the back of the knee. And I screamed out at the head ref who was in the list at the point in time. I'm like, if you don't deal with that, I'm going to come into this list. He snapped around, pointed at me, and I just went, I'm sorry. That came out. I'm angry as shit. My B. He dealt with the problem. He came out of the list. He walked up to me. He's like, you ever fucking threaten to come in my list again? I'm like, you're very right. I'm sorry. I was wearing full armor. I was ready to hop over a 5.5 foot tall rail to come in and keep my buddy from getting hurt. I am sorry. He's like, I'm only one guy and I can only see so much. I'm like, yes. I have made sure that I have reffed at several events. I have judged at several events. The only problem is that all of us experienced fighters want to keep fighting, right? We all want to go and fight. We're the only ones, like people that have been in for a couple of years, that actually know the rules well enough. Yeah, that are actually able to fucking ref. And I think that's going to be a series of videos that I'm going to be talking about. Is like, hey, rules. Here's some rules we're going to talk about. Like, here's how you call a rail hook, or here's how we're going to call like this knee or this whatever the fuck else.
Yeah, I agree. We've seen in some countries where they've made like a whole cast of people that are refs only, that were not fighters, and that's gone bad as well because then they become kind of power hungry because they have the power over the fighters, and like they can be weird.
Yeah.
Right. So you want those experienced fighters to be there, but your experienced fighters want to be fighting. So it's super challenging, and it is like HMDIA, they do a good job of building a training structure for their marshals. It's really unfortunate that they've decided to say if you are an HMDIA certified marshal, you can't marshal anything else now.
Whatever.
Yeah. But so, you know what? You just train up with them and you don't take your certification. And maybe that means you can't do certain things at events. But still, you can get trained up.
I think
about that wanting to jump over the rail. Yeah. Like, I think that sometimes when I've been the shittiest is like when I've been outside the list watching stuff and like I start yelling at refs because of stuff that I'm seeing in the list.
Well, my thing was like I was team captain
as well and be like, I'm concerned. Yeah.
Being a team captain and standing outside the list while you watch one of your guys have something that seems illegal to you done to your buddy, you're like, I want to fucking deal with it. That's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
And you have to realize like, no, step back. You're a fighter. Shut the fuck up. You're not wearing a yellow jersey or anything else like that. You need to be quiet. So we need to support our support, and that just doesn't mean just the refs. It's also like the people that are squiring for us, that are helping us put on our armor, that are dealing with things like that. I don't know many people that like go and treat their support people to dinner after a fight or anything else like that. I think teams need to be giving back to their support structure, even if that's just like family members and significant others, because that's 90% of the time what happens is like you get your girlfriend, your boyfriend to come out and help you do the thing.
Yeah, totally. And that's also the where you have those people that are new on your team. Like, if you're traveling to an event, bring them along with you so they can help you out.
Mm-hmm.
People getting water and stuff is very important,
Extremely.
but also that they can see what it is that we're trying to do. Yeah, like this year, the plan was my son has started he's 10, the one that's stuck in the background there.
Mm-hmm.
He's been starting to get mad at me about going away to Europe for like a week. And so it's like, okay, well, I think you're at the age now that you could come with and not like, you'll still be a bit of a pain, but you could also help out. So it should kind of balance out, right? Like that it would be sort of net loss zero kind of thing.
It's like, you have to fucking listen to me. Do not do anything otherwise. We can go and have fun afterwards. But when I'm in armor, you're shutting the fuck up and you're listening.
Or just like having that person to like run back to the tent because you forgot a sword.
Jesus Christ.
So, the sport is still pretty small in Canada, and we have not had very significant. Like, you know how it is. Everyone says that they're going to go to Worlds, and when it comes time to go, you're going to Denmark with only 4 other people.
Yeah.
And so like we often haven't had much for support because there just aren't enough people there. Like that's one of the nice things about having Team Quebec at IMCF is that we're good friends with them, and so they've often been able to be there to help out. Like Regis and Jeremy, they would often like dig out their Canadian surcoats that they happen to have because maybe they just went to Battle Nations kind of thing, and then they can be there to hand out weapons for us and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's one of those things where you have spare people. If you have spare people, that's really nice. Like I've gone traveling enough times just across the states where it's just been our team and we haven't had anybody else with us, and it's been all of us helping each other put on our armor, getting everything put together and everything else like that, making sure that we cover all of our bases and we check on each other and do the thing because we are a team. But it's invaluable to have an extra set of hands that isn't in fucking armor. Oh my god.
That checking over though made me think of the thing that I'm trying to build into my team that I guess White Company does. Every time they leave the list, there's like a buddy system. You're checking each over for your straps and those kind of things. Like I think that's a big important thing that not enough of us do. Like we had a fighter sat when we were against Mexico because a bicep strap was undone, and like how his armor is built, he doesn't actually need that to be done up to it was an extra strap.
Yeah.
But marshals don't know that, right? And so they call that. And so if we were going through each other each time we leave, you could catch that kind of thing.
Yeah, like making sure that hey, your all your armor's good, everything's still attached, or if you randomly lose a rondelle and you find the rondelle, go, here's your rondelle back, kind of thing.
Yeah, and oh, that strap got cut in half. Do we have time to fix that?
Yeah.
We should maybe deal with that.
It's one of those things you have to. It takes a team to do the thing, and you have to actually work as a team. It's not all a bunch of individuals. Yeah. The sport is very individualistic where you have to get your own armor. You have to figure out your own travel. Very few teams that I know actually organize their travel.
You guys figure out your own travel? What have I been doing for 5 years?
What?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of hand holding that I do.
Well, believe me, I tell you what, Andrew Dion, my brother from a different mother, he has definitely organized all of the information when we go overseas or when we go to big events. Everybody just goes, "Hey Andrew, how do we do this?" And he's like, "I've got it figured out. Don't worry about it."
These are the flights that we need.
Yeah.
I've got the car booked. I've got the house booked.
Yep.
Yep.
That's exactly right. And it was invaluable to have that guy, a logistics dude that went, "Here's everything. Here's all the links. This is what you need to do," kind of thing. And then we'd still have people fuck it up.
Okay, so the first time we went to Montreal, so there's an airline in the Yukon, Air North, that flies to Ottawa direct flight. So we could skip a bunch of getting across the country.
Yeah.
And then it's a 2.5 hour drive. Perfect. So I organized with them a group deal. we wouldn't have to pay any excess baggage. We got a discount, all these great things. I was like, okay, guys, we've got this. Here you go. Here's what you need to do. Immediately in that post, I booked on Air Canada. I'll see you. Can you guys pick me up at this time from here? I booked with Air North separately. Now what do I do? Like,
No, you're stupid. No.
this is what you needed to do. Like, yeah.
Well, that also comes down to the amount of time that you had between putting out that information and like how long the tournament is to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird thing, like trying to herd cats, and they're all adults, so they think their opinion's right.
Adults are worse than children.
Yeah, they're terrible. At least a kid understands, like, hey, this guy actually knows more than me. Maybe I should do what he says occasionally. Adults are like, nah, man, you don't know shit.
Yeah. I'll do what I want, when I want, how I want.
Yeah. And that's perfectly fine to be an adult, but hey, make the right, like, let the guy have all the, like, with all the information, at least give you an idea, give you a direction, maybe. I don't know.
And, like, we all have these now.
Yeah.
Every different way to communicate with people, and it's harder than ever to reach people and communicate with them.
Right. It's like the age of technology where you can communicate, you can figure out whatever the fuck you want to figure out, and you can do everything at the touch of a button, and they still don't fucking do it.
Yeah. Like, I'm still looking for that best method of communication with a team, like, okay, I've sent you text messages, I've messaged you, I've posted on the 2 different groups, I've sent you emails, and then you still have people going, we have a tournament this weekend?
What?
Oh, yeah. And I've talked about it at practice the last 4 months,
Yeah. I think that Facebook is terrible for, like, exchange. Like, it's great for exchanging information on, like, in random facts, but, like, any Facebook chat gets buried, like, information gets buried or something like that. Pages, everything gets buried in posts. Like, it's really hard to keep track of information, really, at that point. Like having the Discord and talking about stuff on our Discord and everything like that. That's a little bit better, but people can still ignore the shit out of that, or just not catch it.
Still can get lost. Like, I'm just starting to try and set up a Discord for our team here, and I know nothing about Discord. I was really against it for a long time. For I don't know why, just because the cool kids did it, I think. But like building those channels that are locked, that just have this is the information kind of stuff. So people know to go look there. Is sort of what I've been trying to work on.
Yeah, it's a son of a bitch sometimes. I gotta tell you what.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask the question: how do you feel about foam fighting as practice and steel fighting practice? Like,
I think we were one of the first teams actually to get foam. We got a grant from the government for like $5,000 so we bought like 10 sets and we had to pay a portion of it ourselves, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's what we all talk about. The problem is like the helmets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we found like they were more useful for working on dual stuff, which then people just go really fast, and that doesn't really help. Because anytime we worked on group fights, helmets were just coming off all the time, no matter how hard you put them. And so I think, yeah, the idea of maybe doing like the Simon strap and the front strap might be a solution. I think there's lots of advantage. I think it's good because where people in armor gets broken is fighting in armor, right? I am interested to try more of the sledgehammer handles idea.
Yes.
Like Pavel was talking about that, and I know Scalgrams in Toronto, they use those a lot as well. But yeah, like the foam is really nice because like you can do a technique class. Like everybody should work out at home, and everybody should do Pell work on their own time too. Nobody does those 2 things. So
No.
I do them at training. It sucks, but so we do them at practice. But like so then at the end of doing those 2 things, you can get into soft kit and do like half an hour of working on stuff. So I think that there's a lot of advantages to them.
I think the amount of reps that you can get through in practice with foam like allows you to build up that much more like cardio, being able to swing more, like the arm dexterity of just constantly doing the motions of swinging your fucking arms, hitting people, kind of thing. No matter how fast it is, yeah, it's not the same weight as a sword, but at the same time, you're doing the motion of swinging a sword all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's gone. I had something else that I was going to say about it, but
lost it. It's gone.
Yeah. Just
to
gone.
the ether, as it were.
Yeah,
And one point is like it's something that I have to tell my guys: you can't win practice. Like
yeah, that's
it's a
thing.
huge thing. Um,
And the big thing, like I've been thinking about, so in judo we do randori at the
mm-hmm,
end of the night, which is sparring, right?
mm-hmm,
And I've been thinking a lot about, uh, I I don't need to let people have throws. I don't have to fight really hard to prevent them all the time.
yeah.
Like I need them to be successful as well.
Did you break up there? Did you go robo again? You went
Yeah.
robo again.
Sorry, you went roboto for a second.
Yeah, so did you.
No, you're good. I'm
Someone's got
back.
bad
You're back.
internet. I don't know who.
Uh, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna blame America
Oh, you're gonna blame America? I'm gonna blame
because I can.
Canucks. Hey,
Yeah.
speaking of Canada, what's
Blame
up with that fucking
Canada.
hat you're wearing? What's up with this hat? What is this?
Okay.
What is this dill hat?
Uh, I got this hat 1 year in Denmark, I think. Uh, I just really like it. But the thing is, uh, as the guy who's often organizing everything, uh, then I'm also very chatty, and so it makes it very easy for my team to find me because they
Mm-hmm.
can look like around the arena or the list, and they'll always be like, "Okay, there's Land. That's we can go get him and drag him away because we want to go home."
Look for the yellow dick. Where is it? Sticking right
No,
off the front
no,
of his head.
it's a duckbill.
It's a duck
Or,
bill. It's a duck
yeah, or a
bill.
ship's prow. It's gotten
Ship's
misshapen a bit, going to Europe so many times, but
ship's prow. Will archers and ever or arrows ever be added to Buhurt? No, no. You know why? It's because it's about hitting people with axes. You want to go fight with arrows? We go fight larps. That's why we got foam fighting. That's why we got rattan fighting. They got arrows everywhere.
so you know how we have like there's some ideas about how could with pro fights and like when you put people on the ground like a paint uh
Oh
block
yeah,
like
yeah.
paint sack or whatever. Um Maybe it is you just have a couple of those and people have to try and hit that with their arrows.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
not gonna
No,
happen.
what I do like the idea of is doing pro fight situations, but you can go for a killing blow with a rondelle dagger. And you take
Yeah,
out like a piece of like rattan or something like a barbell or something like that that's wide enough that it can't go through any bar hole, like any hole, but it's got
yeah,
like a piece of wax. They're not wax, but like yeah, like a crayon, like a wax, like a
yeah,
wax stick, and you just jab it into him, and like whoever gets an armpit shot or a gorget shot, like there you go. I think that would be pretty fun.
yeah. I think there's like some opportunity to do something like that. Would be pretty. Yeah, maybe that's the full plate category
Yeah.
because I because there's also like they would have those tournaments where you'd have the thing on your helmet, like a crenellation or something that you'd have to chop that off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that, or there's like, yeah, you could have some sort of like placard type thing that you have to smash that maybe.
Like
Like,
you have like there's a I don't even know what this thing would be called, like a little shield up here that's made out of like Luon or something like that. You have to shatter the fuck out of that or something like that.
yeah,
I think that'd be.
yeah,
I think there's some fun ways that we could make. Like Buhurt is only so fun to watch when something
I
crazy is
don't
happening.
understand that.
What?
Like in America, you guys are constantly like, yeah, but Buhurt's actually boring to people. I'm
It
like,
is.
no,
Well, but
no.
here's the thing. What I
My
don't.
mom gets up in the middle of the night to watch us fight overseas. She's
Well,
like a hockey mom.
it's because you're fighting overseas and she's your mama. That's what happens.
All right.
My dad's gotten up at random hours of the night to watch me fight in Denmark and shit, and watch in Poland. Like that's how
Yeah,
that's what they do. But like you can't
yeah.
convince the random Joe Schmo to go, hey, get up at 3 in the morning and watch the team USA fight in Denmark. Like that's not gonna happen.
We'll get there.
Well,
We'll get
yeah,
there.
at some point in time. But I think like the heavy grapple game that we have is not nearly as telling because it's coming from an ignorant position. Like American fighters, like fighters that do the sport, think that watching like Partisan One and White Company and Bear Paw and everybody, they think that's boring because they are coming from an unlearned point of view of understanding the grapple. Like
Yeah.
seeing the things that they're doing differently in those grapples to try and manipulate or change position or do something like that. I think it's just coming from a place of ignorance. It's not saying that like you're ignorant or something like that. It's just from a place of not knowing.
Yeah.
Um,
Like they're working hard in that,
yeah.
like trying to do all these little things, just little tweaks and stuff. Like, yeah.
And I think if people learned more about judo, they would understand why moving your foot 3 inches and trying to push his head in a different direction is pretty fucking important.
Yeah.
Like, I get learned, and get good. I think that's kind of the
Yeah.
idea and the thought process.
Totally.
Um, so
Yeah. Like that's the thing is like our sport is still so new that we can draw from so many other sports. Like
mhm.
if you don't have a super solid training schedule with your team, pick up another martial art at least one day a week, even. Like
Yep.
go to judo, go to Muay Thai, go to wrestling.
Wrestling is
I want
huge.
I want to check out sumo. Like I think there could be some interesting stuff in sumo. You
We
know,
sat down and watched a bunch of sumo fights. Me, Alex, and Ringo were sitting down watching sumo, and we're like, Jesus Christ, just watch how this 400, 500 pound man pivots on his back, on his like little toe, the ball of his foot on his little toe. He pivots and he throws a dude right over his hip, and he's still standing.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
insane. And that's kind of the shit that we're trying to do. I mean, realistically, like half the time you
basically,
get a big dude that's just pushing on you, he's trying to play that big man game, and you're like, how do I just deal with this large human? How do I trip him up? How do I do something to put him on the ground so he doesn't rip me on the ground with him? Kind of
yeah.
thing.
Like that's why I tell people all the time. Like, we've got Big Phil in Quebec. He's 450 pounds before he puts on like 100 pounds of armor, right? We have this great gift from that first tournament in Montreal that rises up every year, where like our smallest fighter, who was like 130 pounds, kind of thing. Now the gift doesn't show this, but he was doing a great job of kiting him around, keeping
Mm-hmm.
him occupied. One time he flew too close to the sun, and Bill just like shield punch, boom, and the guy goes flying. you know,
um,
but like that little guy can keep that giant person
busy.
occupied and
Yeah.
can do stuff, right? And like keeping that person out of the fight can help save you guys the day.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. No, and that's definitely a thing. Like half the time, I just like try to keep 2 or 3 people busy. I'm like, I know 2 people are gonna follow me. I'm just gonna go over here and keep them out of the
Yeah,
fight and let the rest of my team do stuff.
that's my job too. I'm no good at making frags, but I can usually keep a couple of people occupied, so then I can set up that 2-on-1 for somewhere else, kind of ideally. And that's also the big thing. Like you need to be building into your team, right? That making the person getting all the kills isn't all the glory. Like if I, kept people busy, that's also partially my kill. Like we share, and that looking at the team as a holistic thing, not just that like, yeah, Lake takes everyone out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lake takes someone out because Land kept Lake's guys busy,
Yeah.
or Land set up that guy for Lake to take him out.
I
Like
think I think
the
that
stats
like
are beyond even just in that interaction.
yeah. Assists are very important in the sport and setting people up to do things. There's not really a sport that does like that has the same kind of prospect that we do, other than 5-on-5 MMA fighting, which is ridiculous and silly. Um, I love watching it, but it is insane.
As soon
Um,
as one guy's down, like
you're
I
fucked.
mean, our fight, our sport, like it's often hard to come back from that 4-on-5.
It is very much
I
so.
mean, it happens, yes, all the time, but it's still hard. But in that 5-on-5 MMA, like you're done.
One
Like
guy's
you
grappling
might as
and
well
another
just,
dude comes up and just starts pummeling on your kidneys. You're like, what am I supposed to do?
as soon as you lose one guy, you might as well just call the fight.
Yeah, really. Like first to fall kind of situation.
Yeah,
First blood maybe, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things. There's no other sport that really does what we do, where there's no central ball that you get to follow or anything else like that. They're not trying to score. There's not one dude carrying the ball or another guy trying to throw it off to the other guy or pass it or anything like that. No, it's just 5 dudes beating the ever living shit out of you, like 10 dudes beating the shit out of each other.
I think probably partly why I don't see this like there's boringness in the sport because I never did mainstream sports. Like I did biathlon, I did orienteering, running, biking, all those things. So, you know, orienteering is when someone's running around the woods with a map and a compass trying to find
Do you
controls in the woods.
consider that a sport?
Yeah, totally. My brother would go to world championships for it and stuff.
Wow.
I was national champion one year when I was
crazy.
like 12. Now imagine televising that, but they do. Like, oh, this guy just came in out of the forest, you know, like
look at him
and
go.
It's huge in Europe, you know. So like, yeah, I never have like I don't understand ball sports, and I put hockey into ball sport as well. Like
Yeah.
I watch them and I'm like, what is happening? Why is this happening? Why'd they just stop the game?
Ball. Yeah, flat dense ball.
Somebody just hit that thing around and now they just stopped them. Why? You know? So maybe that's partly my bias as well, is I just don't have this like understanding of pro sports as much.
I think it's just people say that it's boring. I'm like, you just don't understand really what's trying to be done. You just see dudes hitting each other with axes or dudes hugging onto each other kind of thing. It's not really like you understand the minutia of it.
And I think, you know, we've been talking lots lately about that, how we produce and release the video content, you know, having that full field with then like the screen on screen where that's where you're doing zoom in,
picture in picture kind of thing.
Yeah, but you can be watching the whole field. But like, yeah, even us, like when I'm sure when you watch tape, like you need to watch it 5 times to watch each person and follow them along, right? So I think the like getting the numbers in Buhurt League will start to help that as well, because people just start to pick their favorites and watch their favorite, you know.
I like the idea of having numbers. I don't mind Roman numerals or whatever the shit else. Like some way to identify people. Like I don't have a problem being identified because of that thing. I'm also like a foot and a half taller than 3/4 of the people that fight. But at the same time, like everybody wearing wolf ribs, everybody wearing stilettos, everybody wearing like bassinets of some sort. Like the helmets aren't really super distinguishable from 50 feet off in a camera lens. It's kind of difficult to follow people. But like having picture in picture where you can see the whole field, but then you can see a close up of this interaction, this interaction, this interaction. If there's 3 different grapples happening, oh wait, where'd that one guy go with the 2-handed axe? Oh, now he's showing up in this one. He's chopping the ever living shit out of this guy, kind of thing.
How many times do you have the footage where you're like, oh, what's that guy going to do? And then the camera comes and you see 2 people on the ground, and you're like,
son of a bitch. I really wanted to know how those 2 guys ended up on the ground. Thanks. That's great. Yeah. Currently what's playing in the background is actually, I think this is New World Cup. Jojo McCarville, she actually took a lot of the videos for the ACL when it was the ACL and everything else like that. She did a great job. She's only one person, and you can only get so high up in that arena to actually get a full frame. And still great video and great product. I really like what she does, and I can't wait to like do more events where I have her there videotaping stuff.
I'm also interested in more drone footage.
Yeah,
like, I think
drones.
That's kind of cool. Like I've only had a little bit. It's a different angle, but also like you could probably even just not necessarily just do the top down, but like get that high up in the corner, kind of that we often need to get the full frame.
I think the biggest thing about it is like I know that there are drones that you can put up in the air and you can set it to one fucking location and then it doesn't move. However long its battery sits, it just sits there. Like that's all I want it to fucking do is sit right there. I don't need sweeping shots. I don't need anything else. I just need one drone up there that stays still. And nobody to throw a fucking spear at it like that asshole in fucking Scandinavia. Which I completely understand why he did it. I completely understand why he did it. Fuck technology. Fuck your gears.
Did you see that? Like then they made like
a rock, the rock painting. Yes.
Yeah, that was so good. I was just thinking about drones. Also, they have the drones for like all the extreme sport people too. That
follow you.
Tether. Could you imagine that? Like,
oh my God.
You could have it just hovering 20 feet over you, following Paul as he goes around the field.
That'd be the worst. That'd be the worst. Well, those things
I
like
don't know.
swoop, they swoop in and they go beside you and shit like that. You'd have to make sure that it has to like stay a
Well, I
specific
think you
amount of
can
feet away
kind of
from you.
set how it's behaving.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I think my friend had one for because he did a lot of stand-up paddleboard stuff. So he just set it to like stay 20 feet back, kind of thing. So you just have like your little like drone. Like, how like cyberpunk at times is our lives. Like that technology. Like,
And then I go out and like chop. I go out and chop wood with an axe, like
yeah,
to heat my house in the wintertime. I don't
yeah,
know what to tell you.
it's awesome.
The wackiness of us being in the day and age that we are in, and then we still put on medieval armor and kick the shit out of each other.
So I always get this question, and I'll pose it to you. Uh, why why do you do this sport? Why do you get into armor?
Um, so I've been doing like stick fighting of some sort for the last 12 years of my life or so. I like the idea of having consensual violence that I can go out and I can be aggressive. I can do all those aggressive things, but I can still be friends with the people afterwards.
Yeah,
I don't have to worry about going to jail. I don't have to worry about like dealing with other ramifications other than like my own body being hurting or if somebody gets a bruise from me. Like that's the biggest issue I have to worry about. Um, Steel fighting, like I started in foam, went to rattan, then steel. I think steel fighting is just that slice of ultra violence that I was missing in rattan, because I can't go full. I can go full bore in rattan to a certain degree, but it's not with a steel axe, and I'm not able to really like lambast people with a fist nearly as often in rattan fighting as I do in steel fighting. I think it was just like that the escalation of violence that I found
yeah,
in the time frame.
yeah. I think especially in the lives that like the world we are now, like that place to have that violence is important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I don't know, like you don't have vision quests and like even like wars today are very different.
Yeah.
Like there aren't those places, and it's like it's cliche, but like to make men men or whatever that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that there's a lot going on in our lives. And I think it's important for us to be able to go and have that violent thing, while still having that camaraderie after. I love so many of Igor's videos. He is destroying people on
Mm-hmm.
Buhurt technologies. And you see him at the end of the video, like peel back the guy's shield to be like, "Are you okay, brother?"
Yeah.
You know, and that's like, or that's even like in mid fight, he's checking on people
Mm-hmm.
and then going off and crushing someone else,
I do
or
that. I do that as well. I have conversations with dudes. I'm like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, are you okay doing this?" Because I hear him making noise, or I'll call out
yeah,
to a guy going, "Hey, you're pulling my helmet off," and they're like, "Oh, sorry, bud," and they'll grab me and I won't move. I won't change my position. I won't use it to my advantage. I'll be like, "Hey, just grab lower on my helmet instead of the very tip, because right there you're trying to pull my helmet off," and they're like, "Oh,
yeah,
okay." Um,
yeah,
I think there's a level of respect that we all have for one another when we go into the list, because we are all walking into the same blender. Like I make the joke, I willingly walk into blenders, and that's legitimately what it is, to a certain point. And we are all understanding that we're walking into the same list, we're walking in with the same risks, we're all wearing the same plate. I don't like to be cliche and call it like a life and harness or anything else like that. I know that's not really exactly cliche, but I think it is kind of,
yeah,
just a bit.
yeah.
Um,
But the other thing is, uh, there's that respect that you've all walked into that blender together. But sometimes like something hits you the wrong way and you're not totally happy and you just like, yeah, I'm gonna take a knee and nobody's gonna think less of you. Like,
your
like
teammate might be pissed at you.
they might be pissed at you, but also like they'll like at the end of it, like when you say, "Oh, I felt that in my hands and my feet when I got struck in the back," they're gonna go, "Oh, yeah, you probably don't need to take another shot like that."
Yeah.
You know? Like, yeah, I think that is super cool. Like even, sometimes when you don't have enough people to take the field, you convince that guy that's injured, just take the field and, take a knee, or if you have it in you, go suicide someone kind of thing, right?
Yeah, hang on the list fall down when you need to. I don't need you. I just need a body so I can go out there and fight, kind of thing.
Yeah, I
Um,
kind of think so.
there's definitely been there's one time that sticks out in my brain where Andrew came off he sat because he was injured, and he was in a very good position. He would have won us the match, and we would have gone on to like gold medal round, or I think we would have won the medal at that point in time. And Andrew walked off, like limped off the field because he got hit beside his knee, right behind his fin. And
Yeah.
I looked at Andrew and I'm like, it better be fucking cut off. And I took a second and I'm like, I'm sorry. That was wrong. That was very wrong. Just like up in my blood and pissed off, and I was ready to knock him out. And I'm like, no, shut the fuck up, Paul. You're stupid. Like, and I apologized to him immediately. And I'm like, and I think that like having a place to be able to do all of this crazy bullshit and like be like machismo or whatever the fuck it is, like,
Yeah.
it's like consensual violence. I'm not saying that I'm a proponent of violence in general terms. It's consensual violence. We all understand what we're walking into. We all know that like what we're about to deal with. And we all agree to it, and with smiles on our faces. We're all like, yeah, sure, shit.
And then like, you beat the crap out of me, and then you come over and help me up, and I'm like, oh my God, like you hit me like this and you did that, and that was amazing. And I'm telling you about how you just destroyed me, and I thought it was cool.
Yeah, like I've had guys walk up like, dude, look at the fucking dents you left in my armor. I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. That's like $1,000 for the gear might be. They're like, no, that was fucking great. Like, you're nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think that's one thing about our sport that's just crazy. Like, we're able to go and do this and be happy with each other afterwards, which is nuts.
Yeah, there are very few people in the sport that I dislike, and as I try and be connected with people all over in the sport, like I know a lot of those people in the sport. And like, yeah, it's super cool. Like, it's a great group of people, and it's people from everywhere as well.
I
Like,
mean,
all
the
different
fact that we could go overseas right now to a tournament, fight, and we'd be smiling and hugging people that we haven't seen in a year, and they're like, it's like yesterday you saw them. We're like, Buhurt,
Yeah.
we're here. That's what we're here for. And we can talk about stuff, and it's a real fast, easy like connection that you can make with each other, and it sticks with you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Buhurt is love, as Igor would say.
Totally. And there's a certain kind of connection you make with people when you're fighting them, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard enough commentaries of like, you're way too scary in that helmet, but then we meet you and you're all smiles and giggles. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the idea. That's just straight up fear factor. Like, that's there to make you uncomfortable, and it's hilarious.
We have one of our fighters from home. She laughs always when you hit her, which is like also super challenging. Then, like,
no, I'm gonna hit her harder.
Yeah. But you just hear her giggling away in there, and you're like, everything's okay? Yep.
Everything's fine. Yeah. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me? Anything you want to speak to?
No. Why didn't we become friends sooner than like the last like month?
because I don't know why, but somebody told me that you were a complete shitbag back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
I can only you can only guess who said that, and you only need like one or two guesses.
And I think I associated you too much with those people.
Probably.
That's why I chose not to.
At the point in time, like I went with like being like almost kind of new in this situation, you not wanting to piss off the boss and everything else like that. Like, I'm like, whatever's gonna go is whatever is gonna go. Like, I don't need to fucking deal with people that he doesn't like or I don't like or something like that. Now I'm just like, fuck everyone. Like, I hate everyone equally. I like everyone equally. Like, that's what you have to prove yourself. You have to prove that you're likable, and you've proved that you're likable.
No, I think like this series that you're doing is super awesome for those reasons, that we aren't traveling, and we're probably not going to travel at the end of this year and see our friends.
Yeah.
And so, like, everyone you've talked to so far are people that I would hang out with and talk to at tournaments. So it's like, oh, I kind of like get to spend a bit of time with my friends, even though I can't.
Well, I also thank you. I think this whole series, the main point of this series is being able to hear different perspectives, and hearing it from people that have been in the sport for a while or very involved in the sport, everything else like that. Like I think its perspective is understanding. And I think that's a very strong thing about being a human is that you are able to we're able to cognitively hear each other and hear each other's views on things, and then we can be better understanding of those views, and then we can have an actual fucking discourse about shit.
Totally.
I think that's an extremely important thing about being human and our common humanity and the common sport that we're all in, because this sport is extremely new. It has many very different perspectives and many different varying degrees of ways you can go about it, ways that you can take it. And I think it's really important to be able to talk to that.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, we in North America need to continue to do more to build together.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the time, I'm jealous of those guys in Europe. Like, oh, I'm just gonna hop on the train and go to a tournament,
Right?
you know. So we need to like be doing what we can to build all the smaller communities across our countries, and then play with each other more. Like, you know,
I'm pretty pissed off that I haven't been able to fight and hang out with the Mexican teams or the Brazilian teams or any of those guys. I really want to go and hang out with those guys. I want to fight with them. I want to talk to them and everything else like that.
So one year I had a family vacation set up around going to a tournament in Mexico
Mm-hmm.
that like a few weeks out the tournament got canceled. So
I
it was
think
like
when was that? Was that like
but that was
2017,
yeah.
2018?
So yeah, 2017 because iTalk was like the weekend before, so it was like go to iTalk and then go to Cancun the next
Yeah.
week kind of thing.
I remember
And
them talking about that tournament and then they canceled it.
yeah, I think something went bad with like some criminal element trying to shake them down or something like that. Like it was kind of a weird thing.
It's pretty real.
Uh,
That's pretty real
yeah,
down there.
but it was like, yeah, I set it up going to Mexico for 2 weeks with my family. I'm like, oh, my parents, you should come to Mexico with us too. Then if I go to this tournament, you can help with my children, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And my mom's like, Dad can stay. I'm going to the tournament. I'll be your water boy or water girl.
That's great.
Uh, yeah. And so then when it was canceled, I was like trying to like discreetly ask, like, well, could I maybe fly to Springfield first and then join you in Cancun? And it's
Yeah.
like, no days. I'm sure it probably was better to not be dragging armor all around Mexico for a couple of weeks, but
Probably. I mean, we've only done it in Europe a couple of times and seen how the fuck that's gone.
yeah. Have you ever lost your bags going to
No,
an event?
fuck no.
Uh,
I'm a very
yeah,
lucky human.
yeah,
I also make sure I put the most important thing and my gauntlets in my carry-on bag because I'm
yeah.
like fuck everyone.
That's how I travel all the time as well. Because like I can find the rest of the stuff to marginally fit me
Mm-hmm.
enough, but those two things are what's important.
They're
Yeah,
pretty important. I think. Currently in the background we're playing the sword and brick fight.
the sword and brick.
They have bricks in their hands.
Why?
Because I told them here's 2 bricks, time to fight with them. This was at Beltway Brutality. I think this was like 2 years ago that we did this. I think it's Tim and Khalid fighting each other. They both have bricks and they both have falchions.
Okay, I see it now.
It's like the worst idea ever. I really should have gotten the bricks that have holes cut in them, so when you smash them against each other, they actually explode. These are just solid bricks from like 60 years ago that are made out of solid clay. Like, I can kill somebody with this brick in armor.
I want to send a shout out to my friend Lucas and his gal Ash. They're watching right now. They are on Vancouver Island, and I had this random dude say, "Hey, you're bringing your preventive to the Yukon. I want to come train with you guys."
Sweet.
And then, then his car got totaled, and so all his money they was gonna fly up to visit us had to go to that, I guess. And but he has done an amazing job building a team out there. Like they have, I think, 30 people and probably like 20 people in armor now, and they're been doing it for like about 3 years, kind of thing. Like,
That's fucking
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it's super awesome.
I
So yeah, I think he's yeah, like you get good charismatic leaders in places, like there's opportunity is there.
Lane, look, Lan, me and you are going to sit down and do the local leadership video.
Yeah.
Probably is going to be 2 videos of us talking about some bullshit.
And people probably will probably make some not so many friends at times.
Yeah, like that's probably not going to go the greatest for like our reputations. Going, hey, this is how you're supposed to lead things, assholes.
That's my big thing is I don't want to be the leader, but no one else is stepping up at times, right?
Sorry to tell you, but like the guy who doesn't want the thing usually probably should have it.
Yeah.
That's how that goes.
I think what worked well for us in the Yukon is Jose Amuedo is very charismatic and awesome and charming. So he's like drawing people in, and I'm in the background doing the work.
Yeah. Jose's a great face guy. He's a great face guy. You're a really good logistics dude.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm like the hand. You know?
You have to have that dynamic of a team to make it work. That's very real. Like if you got a guy that's really good at doing like paperwork, but you got a guy that's really good at making people listen to him, get the guy who gets people to listen to him. Sure, yeah, I'll do all the paperwork. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
All your work that you're doing is going to be worth it because I'm going to make it worth it because it's going to be in paper form.
Yeah.
It's pretty important to have that kind of thing. I think we're about an hour and a half into it. I want to thank everybody for joining us in this crazy time. Buhurt across the list, Buhurt around the world. Land, I want to thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Chatting.
All your great work you're doing is just helping us grow the sport. You know, you're giving us stuff to like, hey, you want to learn about things? Go look at this. Like, it's helpful to hand out to the noobs.
That was kind of my thought process. I'm like, how many times have I repeated the same fucking information over and over in a text message to a guy that's probably never going to come around ever again after I tell him this? Why don't I just send him a YouTube video and go, hey, watch this 10-minute thing where I don't have to type for 20 minutes to do the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's I think that's just making it easier, and like how to replace shit, how to fix straps and everything else like that. That's yeah. Learn how to fix your own fucking straps and take care of your own fucking armor. It's pretty important.
So those are good things though to also do as a team. Like we used to have crafting nights, kind of like months you come together, kind of work on stuff together, to build community. I think that we didn't really get much into that, but that was a big thing in our team was like doing all these extra things outside of armor are really important to build your team and building that community. Because if you just get together and fight each other all the time, like
we talk
about this great community we make overseas, but when it's like your day-to-day people, you need to do more to like make a team and, you know, want to be friends with each other kind of thing outside
generally. We're going to talk about that in our leadership videos. Stay tuned for that. We're going to be doing that here soon. I want to thank everybody for being in chat and everything else like that. Check out the link tree, buy t-shirts, check out things, do what you want.
I got crop top, Paul. No.
Yeah, I know. I actually, we're working on it. We're doing a Get Vicious or Get Out crop top. I got yelled at enough. Like, why isn't there a Get Vicious or Get Out crop top? I'm like, okay, fine. Crop top, fellas. We're bringing it back. We're taking it this season. It's our season for crop tops.
20.
Last thing I'm going to say, get vicious or get the fuck out.
Peace.